Welcome back to Us Mint Mysteries. Tonight, we're diving into the world of hidden treasures that might be sitting right in your pocket change. These aren't just any coins, these are the ultra-rare, jaw-dropping pieces that could turn a simple dime, quarter, or dollar into a life-changing fortune. Imagine holding something so ordinary, yet so extraordinary, that collectors would pay hundreds of thousands, even millions, just to own it. Stay with me, because what you're about to see will make you check every coin jar, every drawer, and even your old piggy bank. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll never look at US coins the same way again. The first coin on our list is one that looks so simple, so ordinary, that most people would spend it without a second thought. But hiding in plain sight is the 1942 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that has stunned collectors for decades. Now, what makes this nickel different? It was minted during World War II, when America was saving nickel metal for the war effort. Instead of pure nickel, the mint struck these coins with a wartime alloy of silver, copper, and manganese. That means every single 1942 nickel is a wartime silver alloy coin, a rare composition that immediately sets it apart. Now, picture this in fine condition, which means it's circulated but still holds clear details. This coin already carries a respectable collector value, around $15 to $25. But that's just the starting point. If you move into higher grades, especially uncirculated examples with crisp details and original mint luster, the price climbs into the hundreds. And here's where it gets jaw-dropping: coins with brilliant uncirculated surfaces, still gleaming as if they just left the mint in 1942. Can fetch $2,500 or more. But wait, it gets even better. Rare varieties and errors like double die obverses, repunched mint marks, or unusual strike flaws can catapult this nickel into staggering value territory. Imagine stumbling across one with the strong doubling on Jefferson's I or a shifted S mint mark. Suddenly, you're not just talking about a few $1,000s. Collectors have been known to pay upwards of $45,000 to $60,000 for dramatic error examples in pristine condition. And here's the kicker, that will make you want to dig through every jar of change you own. Some auction sales have shocked even seasoned numismatists, with high-grade, perfectly preserved 1942 nickels selling for well over $90,000. Yes, a 5-cent piece less than the cost of a candy bar has turned into a small fortune. So, how do you spot one of these treasures? Look closely at the reverse. The large S mint mark sits proudly above Monticello, marking it as a wartime silver nickel. Check the surfaces for strong details in Jefferson's hair, cheek, and jawline, and always look at the lettering for signs of doubling or unusual placement. Even in worn condition, the 1942 has its own story to tell. But in sharp uncirculated grades, or with an error, it's a true showstopper. This coin proves that even something as common as a nickel can hold secrets worth a fortune. And the best part? These coins are still out there, hidden in collections, boxes, and coin rolls, waiting to be discovered. Next up, we move to another shocking coin that could leave you speechless. But before we get there, don't forget to subscribe to Us Mint Mysteries so you'll never miss another rare coin story that could put thousands, even millions in your hands. Next up, let's talk about another wartime treasure that could be hiding right under your nose, the 1944 Jefferson Nickel. At first glance, it looks just like any other nickel. But once again, history tells us a very different story. During World War II, the U.S. Mint was forced to save nickel metal for weapons, tanks, and other military supplies. To keep producing coins, they switched to a special alloy: 35% silver, 56% copper, and 9% manganese. That's right, a wartime nickel made with silver. And the 1944 is one of the stars of this series. In fine condition, which means it's seen circulation, but still shows good details in Jefferson's profile and Monticello's steps. You might expect this coin to be worth just a few dollars, and you'd be right, starting around $10 to $20. But that's only scratching the surface. When you step up into higher grades, the value multiplies. In uncirculated condition, still glowing with mint luster, The 1944p can easily hit $300 to $500, but here's where the jaw drops. Error varieties of this coin are legendary. Collectors hunt for double dies, off-center strikes, and perhaps most famously, the over mint mark varieties, where a mint mark was mistakenly stamped over another. One dramatic example is the 1944p. With double details on the reverse lettering, a coin like that has shocked collectors by pulling auction prices of $30,000 or more. And if you think that's where it ends, think again. The finest examples graded by PCGs and NGC, coins that are virtually flawless, have shattered expectations, selling in the $70,000 to $100,000 range. Imagine holding a nickel worth more than a brand new luxury car. That's the kind of story that turns everyday change into national treasures. Now, here's how you can identify one. Look for the massive P mint mark above Monticello's dome. That oversized mint mark was a unique feature of wartime nickels, so it's your first clue you've got something special. From there, check Jefferson's cheekbone, jawline, and Monticello's steps. The sharper the details, the higher the grade, and the higher the value. And if you ever notice something unusual like letters that appear doubled, take a closer look. You might be staring at a coin that could rewrite your bank account. It's incredible to think that a simple 5-cent piece minted during wartime could be worth more than $100,000 today. But that's the thrill of coin collecting: history, rarity, and value all wrapped into one small piece of metal. And the best part? These coins are still out there, hiding in drawers, old piggy banks, and forgotten rolls of nickels, just waiting for someone with a sharp eye to discover them. Moving on. The next coin on our list will raise the stakes even higher. And if you're enjoying this journey into the rarest treasures of US coinage, make sure you subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the next coin might just blow your mind. Now, let's rewind to the Great Depression era and uncover one of the most fascinating little copper coins of all, the 1935 Lincoln wheat penny. At first, it seems so common, right? Millions of these were minted, and most people would dismiss it as just another old penny. But in the world of coin collecting, even a humble 1-cent piece can rise to staggering heights, if you know what to look for. In extra fine condition, where Lincoln's hair and cheek still show sharp detail, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are crisp. This penny already carries a solid collector's premium, usually around $10 to $25. But that's just the baseline. In brilliant, uncirculated red examples, glowing with that fiery copper shine, the price skyrockets. We're talking $500, $1,000, even up to $5,000 for the finest, blazing red gems. But here's where the shock factor really comes in. The 1935 wheat penny is known for some jaw-dropping error varieties that have blown collectors' minds. One of the most famous is the 1935 double die obverse, where Lincoln's eye, date, and lettering appear double. A clean, dramatic example of this error has fetched more than $40,000 at auction. Just imagine one penny in your pocket change turning into enough money to buy a brand new car, all because of a mistake at the mint nearly 90 years ago. And it doesn't stop there. Off-center strikes, die cracks running across Lincoln's portrait, and even ray-punched mint marks on Denver issues from that same year can send collectors into a frenzy. Each error adds rarity, and with rarity comes value. Some rare misstrikes of the 1935 penny have sold for over $75,000, shocking even the most experienced dealers. Now, here's how you spot one. First, look at the overall sharpness. In extra fine condition, Lincoln's jawline, bow tie, and wheat ears should all be well defined. Then, take a magnifying glass to the date and, "In God We Trust." Any signs of doubling or shadow-like impressions mean you could be holding something incredibly rare. And here's a collector's tip. Pennies stored away in jars for decades often escape heavy circulation, so the odds of finding a valuable one are better than you think. It's almost unbelievable that a coin worth just a single cent in 1935, when a loaf of bread cost 7 cents, could now be valued in the tens of thousands or more. This is the magic of coin collecting. Tiny pieces of history transformed into life-changing discoveries. So the next time you come across a wheat penny, don't ignore it. That little coin could hold the key to a small fortune, especially if it's a 1935 in pristine condition, or even better, one of those famous double die errors. And the story only gets bigger from here. Our next coin raises the stakes even higher, with values that will leave you stunned. Before we move on, don't forget to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the rare coins we're about to uncover could be worth more than you ever imagined. Now, let's shift to a coin that looks like the most ordinary piece of copper you've ever seen, the 1938D Lincoln wheat penny. At first, you'd think it's just a penny, but hold on, because this little cent from the late 1930s has shocked collectors with its rarity, beauty, and sometimes jaw-dropping value. This coin was struck at the Denver Mint during a time when the United States was still climbing out of the Great Depression. While over 20 million were produced, many were heavily circulated, beaten up in everyday commerce, and lost to history. Finding one today in fine condition, where Lincoln's hair, cheek, and bow tie are still visible, and the wheat stalks on the reverse remain sharp, already sets it apart. In this state, you're looking at a respectable $5 to $15 coin. Nothing life-changing yet, but wait. Where the 1938D wheat penny becomes extraordinary is in its higher grades. Step into uncirculated territory, and suddenly, you're in the hundreds. In gleaming red uncirculated condition, with its copper glow untouched by time, these coins can skyrocket to $1,000, $2,500, even $5,000. The brilliance and rarity of finding such a pristine survivor make it a prize for collectors. But here's the kicker: errors. Oh yes, the 1938D is known for dramatic misstrikes and doubled dies that can take your breath away. Imagine finding one with a bold doubled date, where the 1938 appears shadowed or doubled under magnification. A coin like that could easily bring in $25,000 to $40,000 at auction. Add in unusual off-center strikes or die cracks across Lincoln's portrait, and you're suddenly looking at a penny that could be worth as much as $75,000 or more. Think about that for a second. A single cent, the smallest denomination of U.S. coinage, struck at a time when a gallon of gas cost about 10 cents, could now be worth more than some people's homes. That's the pure thrill of coin collecting. How do you spot one? First, flip it over and look for the small D mint mark under the date that tells you it came from Denver. Then, study Lincoln's profile and the wheat years. In fine condition, there's still plenty of detail, but the sharper and redder the coin, the higher the value. Always check for doubling on the date and lettering, because that's where the hidden fortune lies. It's almost unbelievable, but it's true. A simple penny that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up off the sidewalk could end up being worth tens of thousands of dollars. And the best part? These coins are still out there, in old jars, in forgotten drawers, and hidden deep in family collections, just waiting to be rediscovered. And if you think this penny is impressive, wait until you see what's coming next. The next coin on our list pushes values even higher, and I promise, it will leave you stunned. But before we continue, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to us Mint Mysteries, so you don't miss the rarest treasures still hiding in plain sight. Now, here's a coin that almost seems too ordinary to be worth anything: the 1957 wheat penny. Millions of them were minted, and most people alive today have seen one. But this particular example, in fine condition with the unique black shade, could hold far more mystery and value than you might imagine. The black or dark-toned wheat pennies often come from decades of storage in less than ideal conditions. Sometimes the copper reacts to the environment, creating a dark, almost charcoal-like surface. To most people, it looks like damage. But to collectors, unusual toning can transform a coin into something extraordinary. In fact, unique shades and patterns of natural toning are highly sought after, especially when they make the coin stand out from millions of others. Now, in fine condition, without any special errors, a 1957 penny usually sells for only a few cents, maybe 10 to 25 cents, to a casual collector. Nothing shocking there. But here's where things take a wild turn. The red uncirculated 1957 wheat cents, the fiery copper versions with no discoloration, can easily fetch $25 to $50, and if you find a perfectly preserved red gem with blazing color, prices leap into the hundreds. But the real jaw-dropper comes with dramatic errors. For the 1957 wheat penny, some of the most valuable are double dies, off-center strikes, and ray-punched mint marks. A bold double die example of this coin has sold for more than $15,000 at auction. Off-center pennies where Lincoln's face is shifted or cut into the rim can bring in $5,000 to $10,000. And unique errors, combined with eye-catching black toning, have stunned bidders by pushing values even higher. Here's what's unbelievable. 1 cent. Struck in 1957, during the post-war boom, when a brand new car cost less than $3,000, can now be worth $25,000, $40,000, even $75,000 depending on rarity and condition. Yes, a penny that most people wouldn't think twice about could secretly be hiding a fortune. Now, how do you identify a valuable 1957 wheat penny? First, check the date and mint mark. Look for doubling on the numbers or letters, especially "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Next, examine the reverse wheat ears. Are they sharp, or are they faint? A stronger strike means more value. And here's the tip for the black-toned coins. If the color is natural and not from cleaning or artificial treatment, collectors may pay a premium for its unique look. Never try to polish or clean one of these, that only destroys the value. So, imagine this. A black shaded penny that most people would toss aside as damaged could actually be the one coin that shocks an entire auction house. That's the thrill of the hunt and why collectors like us never stop looking. And if you thought a penny couldn't be worth much, stay tuned. The next coin on our list takes rarity and value to a whole new level, with numbers so high they'll leave you speechless. Before we reveal it, make sure you're subscribed to us Mint Mysteries, because these treasures are still out there, and the next one could be sitting in your pocket right now. The 1970D Lincoln penny may seem like just another copper coin from the pocket change of the 1970s, but collectors know there's more to it than meets the eye. Struck at the Denver Mint, this penny comes from a year when billions of Lincoln cents were produced. So how could something so common possibly be valuable? Well, here's the twist: hidden among those billions are rare varieties and errors that transform an everyday cent into a fortune. In fine condition, your average 1970D penny is worth face value, maybe a couple of cents to a collector who enjoys filling album slots. But don't be fooled. If you find a sharp uncirculated example with its original red shine, values can climb into the $25 to $50 range. And if you land a blazing, gem-quality red piece, the kind graded Ms. 67 or higher, you're suddenly staring at a coin worth $1,000, $2,500, even $5,000. But here's where jaws really hit the floor. Certain error coins from 1970 are legendary. The most famous is the 1970S small date double die, but Denver also produced stunning errors like dramatic off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. A bold misstrike 1970D penny has been known to pull in $10,000 to $25,000, depending on the severity and condition. Think about that for a moment. A single cent, struck in 1970, when gas was just 36 cents a gallon, can now be worth more than $25,000, enough to buy a brand new car. And in the rarest cases, perfectly preserved coins with eye-popping errors have reached $35,000, even $50,000 at auction. It's shocking, but it's true. So how do you know if you're holding a treasure? Start by looking just below Lincoln's portrait. The tiny D mint mark is your first clue. Check the date and the lettering for any doubling or shadow-like impressions. Inspect the coin's edges and shape for signs of clipping, off-center strikes, or unusual thickness. Even slight irregularities could mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and a life-changing discovery. And here's a collector's tip. Coins from the 1970s are still turning up in circulation. People saved jars of pennies for decades, never realizing some of them contain rare treasures. That's why every single 1970D penny you see deserves a second look. It's almost unbelievable that a coin most people wouldn't bother to bend down and pick up off the ground could be worth thousands, even tens of thousands. But that's the thrill of numismatics, ordinary coins with extraordinary stories, and the story doesn't end here. The next coin we'll reveal pushes the boundaries of value and rarity even further, and I promise, it will leave you stunned. Before we move on, be sure to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the rarest coins are still out there, hiding in plain sight, and one of them could be waiting for you. The 1981 Lincoln penny is one of those coins almost every American has held in their hands. Billions were struck, and most people would never think twice about it. But let me tell you, even among the most common-looking coins, treasures can be hiding. And the 1981 cent is a perfect example of how details most people ignore can mean the difference between 1 cent and thousands of dollars. In fine condition, your average 1981 penny isn't going to impress anyone. It's typically worth only face value, maybe a penny or two to a collector. But here's where things get interesting. This year marked the very last time the U.S. Mint struck Lincoln cents in the traditional 95% copper composition before switching to copper-plated zinc in 1982. That makes 1981 pennies the final chapter of an era, and collectors pay attention to that. High-grade red copper examples, preserved in brilliant and circulated condition, can easily bring $50, $100, even $250. The most flawless gems graded Ms. 67 and higher have pulled in prices over $1,500 to $3,000. But here's the real shocker. The 1981 penny is also famous for its variety in the design of the lettering and date, specifically the so-called Type 1 and Type 2 mint marks. The difference lies in the style of the S mint mark on San Francisco proof coins, but even Denver and Philadelphia issues show fascinating doubled dies and striking errors. A bold doubled die obverse, where "In God We Trust" or the date shows clear doubling, can rocket the value into $10,000, $20,000, even $40,000 at auction. And let's not forget about dramatic misstrikes. Off-center 1981 pennies, broad strikes, or coins struck on the wrong planchet. Say, a dime blank instead of a cent have fetched over $50,000. Just picture it, a tiny mistake at the mint turning a 1-cent coin into a small fortune. Now, how can you tell if your 1981 penny is special? First, check its weight. Copper pennies from that year should weigh 3.11 grams, so if your coin feels heavy compared to later zinc cents, you're already in the right place. Next, inspect the date and lettering closely. Any doubling or strange shapes could mean you've struck gold, figuratively speaking. And if you find an error strike, don't assume it's worthless. Sometimes the ugliest looking errors are the most valuable of all. It's hard to believe, but a coin minted in 1981, a year when a movie ticket cost just $2.5 and gas was $1.25 a gallon, could now be worth more than $50,000. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Ordinary coins with extraordinary secrets. And remember, these pennies are still out there in jars, drawers, and piggy banks, waiting for someone sharp-eyed enough to spot them. It could be you. Now get ready, because the next coin on our list takes the excitement to a whole new level. Don't forget to subscribe to us Mint Mysteries so you don't miss the rarest finds that might just be sitting in your pocket right now. The 1978D Lincoln Wheatback cent. Wait, by this time, the reverse design had already changed to the Lincoln Memorial. So, what we're really talking about here is the Lincoln Memorial cent struck in Denver in 1978. Billions were made, and on the surface, it looks like the most ordinary coin in the world. You've probably seen hundreds of them in your lifetime, but hidden among those billions are rarities that can shock the collecting world. In fine condition, your average 1978D penny is only worth face value. You could spend it tomorrow and never think twice. But if you step into higher grade examples, especially bright red and circulated ones, the story changes. Crisp mint state red coins with blazing copper surfaces can bring in $50 to $150, while the very finest known examples, graded Ms. 67 and above, have shattered expectations, selling for $3,000 to $5,000. Not bad for a coin that cost 1 cent to make. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. The 1978D is known for some rare and dramatic mint errors. Off-center strikes where Lincoln's portrait is missing part of his face. Double strikes where the coin was hit twice by the dies. Or even wrong planchet errors where the coin was struck on a dime or foreign blank have commanded staggering sums. Some of these bizarre misstrikes have sold for $25,000, $40,000, even more than $60,000 at major auctions. Imagine a penny worth as much as a brand new car, all because of one tiny mistake at the mint. And here's the part that thrills collectors. The Denver Mint produced so many coins in 1978 that errors are sprinkled throughout the mintage. That means they're still turning up today in coin rolls, old jars, and family collections. The right penny could transform into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery hiding in plain sight. So, how do you identify one? First, look just below the date on the obverse. You'll see the tiny D mint mark, which shows it was made in Denver. Then, check the color and sharpness. The redder and sharper the coin, the more valuable it becomes. Next, inspect the coin under magnification. Look for doubled lettering in God We Trust, Liberty, or the date. Any doubling could mean you've got something worth thousands. And of course, always check for wild off-center strikes or unusual edges. The kind of errors that make jaws drop. It's almost unbelievable. A penny minted in 1978, the year Jimmy Carter was president. Gas was 65 cents a gallon, and the average new home cost, $54,000, could now be worth over $60,000. That's the thrill of coin collecting. Everyday coins with the power to rewrite history and your bank account. And the ride doesn't stop here. The next coin on our list pushes values even higher, and you'll want to see it. But before we move forward, make sure you subscribe to us Mint Mysteries, because the rarest treasures are still hiding in plain sight, and the next one could be in your very own pocket change. The Denver Mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes in 1979, so at first thought, you might say, what's special about this one? In fine condition, your average circulated piece is still just worth its face value of 10 cents. But here's where the story takes a shocking turn. Collectors aren't chasing the average 1979D dime. They're hunting the rarest survivors, the flawless mint state examples, and most of all, the incredible mint errors. In mint state condition, bright, full bands examples where the tiny lines across the torch on the reverse are sharp and complete can bring $200 to $500, with pristine Ms. 67 and Ms. 68 coins fetching $2,000 to $4,000. That's right, a dime worth more than a paycheck. All because of razor-sharp strike details that most people overlook. But it gets crazier. The 1979D is known for dramatic errors that have stunned collectors. Off-center strikes where Roosevelt's face is cut in half. Double strikes where the coin was hit twice in the press. And even wrong planchet errors where the dime was accidentally struck on a foreign coin blank or a cent planchet. Some of these rarities have commanded jaw-dropping prices of $25,000, $45,000, even crossing the $60,000 mark at major auctions. Imagine holding a dime in your hand that could pay off an entire year of bills. That's the kind of shock value these hidden treasures carry. So, how can you identify one? Start by looking for the D mint mark, tucked neatly on the obverse near the date. That confirms it's a Denver piece. Next, examine the coin under strong light and magnification. Is the strike unusually sharp, especially on the torch bands? That could signal a valuable, full bands variety. Check for doubling on the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty." And don't forget the edges. Clipped planchets or smooth rims can indicate major minting errors worth thousands. Think about it. A coin minted in 1979, when disco was booming. Gas cost 86 cents a gallon, and a new car averaged around $5,000, could now be worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's the thrill of coin hunting, a reminder that even the smallest piece of change can hide a fortune if you know what to look for. And the best part? These coins are still out there. They slip through the cracks, hiding in pocket change, coin rolls, and dusty old collections in drawers and boxes. The next valuable 1979 dime could be sitting in a coffee can in someone's garage right now, but we're just scratching the surface of this treasure hunt. The next coin on our list cranks the excitement even higher with even more staggering values. So stick with me, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to us Mint Mysteries. Because the rarest discoveries are still waiting to be found, and the next one might just leave you saying, wow. The year was 1971. The US Mint was busy cranking out Roosevelt dimes by the hundreds of millions. At first glance, the 1971 dime looks totally ordinary. In fine condition, just like the one you've shown, it's worth its face value 10 cents. Nothing exciting, or so it seems. But this is where coin collecting proves once again that appearances can be deceiving. Collectors chase not the average 1971 dime, but the rare survivors in pristine condition. And even more thrilling, the incredible mint errors that slipped through undetected. In brilliant uncirculated grades with full details, the value skyrockets. A sharp strike with full bands, meaning the small horizontal lines across the torch on the reverse are crisp and complete, can bring $150 to $300. In the ultra-high mint state grades, Ms. 67 and Ms. 68, these coins have stunned auction houses, reaching prices of $3,000 to $6,500. Not bad for a 10-cent piece. Most people overlook, but here's where the shock really hits. The 1971 Roosevelt dime has a reputation for some wild mint errors. Double strikes, broad strikes, and wrong planchet errors where the dime was mistakenly struck on a cent or even a foreign coin blank have sold for staggering sums. Imagine finding one of these rare blunders and discovering it's worth $25,000, $40,000, or even over $60,000. That's the kind of moment that leaves collectors speechless. So, how do you know if your 1971 dime is more than pocket change? First, check the obverse for the mint mark. In 1971, dimes were struck both in Philadelphia no mint mark and Denver with the D mint mark. Next, examine the details under magnification. Look closely at "In God We Trust," the date, and Liberty. Any sign of doubling can mean you've got a variety worth thousands. Then flip it over and inspect the torch. If the bands are sharp, you may be holding a full bands variety, the key to unlocking serious value. And of course, always keep an eye out for odd shapes, missing details, or edges that don't look right. Those are the telltale signs of rare minting errors. Think about it. In 1971, when gas was just 40 cents a gallon, Disney World opened in Florida, and the average U.S. house cost $25,000. A little dime slipped from the mint. And today, some of those very same coins are worth more than $60,000. That's the thrill of coin collecting, small pieces of history that can completely shock you with their hidden value. And here's the exciting part. These treasures are still out there. They show up in coin rolls, pocket change, and old collections tucked away in attics and basements. It's proof that even the smallest coins can hold the biggest surprises. Now, don't go anywhere, because the next coin on our list takes the value and the excitement to an even higher level. You won't want to miss what's coming. And before we move on, make sure you subscribe to us Mint Mysteries so you never miss the chance to uncover the next jaw-dropping discovery hiding in plain sight.